Good. I'll move it. Right. It'll be. I have a granddaughter already. It's done. Both yeah, we had it. So you get. Excuse me. We got it passed and. So you're gonna shake the buckets. In your mic. Yep. With the city, was it called? Yes, yes. Yeah, yeah. So we passed it. I hope I got that all right. So there'll be sidewalk sides of web. Central and 13th as well. And we don't really like to chase people.
No, it's not, yeah.
50 lanes, because it doesn't make sense. So we're gonna make some 5 lanes to have a dedicated turn lane to go with a single light, and then back to the main lanes down the street. They're in design phase now, so I think construction's in the next year. Yeah, that's not. It's, I think they're about the same. Yes, it'll be a couple of years. Yes, I love it. I did not get these. I love it. I love it. I love it. And she just goes, hello. Yes, you did well. Hi, how are you? Good to see you. I have to come here to see my neighbor. How are you doing? What's your business? Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, we're in.
And your whole, most of your family.
Yeah.
Most of his. Well, David.
Yeah, he actually is.
Really, Joyce moved into the region.
Right across from
Oh.
where we live.
You know, when I was little. Joyce would live down the street from us.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that's how I knew.
Oh, yeah, is that right? From way back?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's where this person, yeah, lived.
Yeah,
Burson.
Yeah. that was her
we were up
way
that way a few days ago.
How are you? Good, how are you? I know, that's like that. Who was it? Oh, Brenda, yeah. Oh.
You keep in touch.
Well, yeah, 3 years.
I think that will be happy.
Here for the.
No. Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't know if they did they have.
Yeah.
Yes,
that would.
Yeah. I just can't, I didn't know.
Yeah.
She's playing on it.
Yeah. I'm Becky. Good to see you. Sorry. Yeah, I wondered what happened.
Well,
I know. That's my fun. Remember a couple of times ago, you saw me Wednesday because I had fallen and bruised my tail. That is miserable. Miserable. Much better. I'm glad. How are you doing? So how did we get to the document?
Well, I'm doing the district advisory board.
So District 2 so big.
Yeah, look at I wanted to.
Yeah. I need a little regular, so. Yeah, I have like 4 or 5 occupancies.
Right. This was going to start.
So this is like 4 years.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
Thank you for being here this evening. Truly appreciate it. This is a very informal setting. I'll let you know a little bit about what we're going to do. Just want to hear your feedback, but also want to say this isn't the only time that you can share your feedback. You can go to any of the town halls that we have still planned within the city, but reach out at any time, please. Reach out to your city council. Our mayor is here this evening. Thank you for joining us, but feel free to reach out at any time. We're going to be working on the budget. City manager and I'm going to introduce in a sec, had our weekly meeting today, and we were just talking about the budget and the process. Last year, we had over 20 opportunities for people to get engaged. Today, this process and through all the city council members, and then one for the entire community, we're just kind of gathering some specific feedback about the sales tax and what happened. We didn't want to just move on. We want to hear what you think, what your thoughts were, what you maybe wish would have been in it, what you didn't want in it. After seeing the budget, what are some priorities? So again, tonight's really informal and just the first of, I hope, many conversations. So what we're going to do is we're going to have an awesome presentation from our city manager, I have no doubt. And then you have Post-it notes and you have a pen, and there's four different questions, or four questions around the room. And just give us your thoughts, right? You can just write a little note. If you want to put your name and phone number for me to call you back if you have more thoughts or ideas about it. Just, feel free to put those up there. We'll kind of see how it goes, maybe 10 or so minutes on that. And then we're just going to have a conversation. We have a microphone. We're going to pass it around. Hey, welcome. Thanks for coming. Really, again, really informal. I know some people don't like to speak in public, so we're not even going to have you come up to the podium. We want everyone to feel comfortable, okay? So with that, I am going to turn it over to Dennis. Dennis is our awesome new city manager who joined us in January. I think this is your third time of being at Rockwell.
Yes, sir. You're
Just in case you don't know, Rockwell, beautifully renovated library. If you haven't had a chance to go and see it, the art is spectacular. The meeting spaces that weren't here are spectacular. There's big chairs out in front of the window, and I call them the big huggy squishy chairs. Feel free to bring a coffee sometime, grab a book, but just a wonderful, wonderful facility. We recently updated all of our libraries across the city, but this is actually in District 1. District 2 is the only district in the city that doesn't have a library, but we're working on it. All right. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dennis. Speaking of budget.
That's right. Thank you, Councilmember Tuttle. It's an honor to be in District 2 in your district, and great to have the mayor here as well. So yes, I'm Dennis Marstall, having a ball with the mayor and council. And we wanted to take a little bit. One of the things I didn't know was going to happen when I took the job in December and then started basically in January, sales tax referendum. And so we're going to talk about that. I would let you so when you think about how do you put together the city budget, we have 7 contracts, I believe, with different unions. Contract with the police union, fire union, public works, airport. So that makes up 42% debt service when we're doing the new road expansion, road construction, but even some of the water sewer to pay for that. We pay a lot of interest on that, but we pay the debt service over time. We don't have the cash on hand for those big projects. So that's 18%. Then you see contractuals, that's a lot of the different things that we use for if we need consultant support or outside folks who are doing construction projects for us, whatever. So that's 19%. And then just buying stuff is 5%. So that kind of gives you a sense of where that goes. But the key point is the bulk of it goes to salary and benefits. And then on the next one, Teresa, there you go. Excuse me. This again goes just to the general fund, one piece of it, which is 342 million. When you put fire and police together, if you put that together, that's 64%. So 64% of the general fund goes to public safety. So when the mayor and council members say their number one priority is public safety, we can tangibly demonstrate that by at least where the dollars go. So that's where the funding, but then you also look about what's up there. 12% is for our public works utilities. Then all the other city services is 11%. Libraries themselves is 4%. We do have a municipal court, but parks and recreation is only 7% of the budget. But that gives you an understanding of the breakdown, and you can take pictures or whatever if you want, or we'll be glad to send out these slides too if you all want those. We can easily make them available. But that just gives you a sense of where the money comes in, where the money goes out. So we want to level set on some of the money for you. So talking about future challenges is we're now every year, our fiscal year starts the calendar year. January, we start over again, but we have to have the budget adopted and approved by the end of August per state law. So again, if you know that we're going to have the budget done in August, that's basically what, 4 or 5 months before it's actually going to be implemented. So we've got to make some pretty good revenue projections now for down the line. So it makes it for a little interesting budget. But part of that, you see the challenges, the wage and benefit growth. Again, as I said, we've got a program in most of our union contracts are 3-year contracts. So we already know programmed out what the percentage of increase is going to be for the police officers. And we've made significant investments over the last 3 years on the current contract, particularly for fire. Here's a cool number for you. We've been challenged in the past to hire firefighters. We've also still got vacancy in police patrol positions. But with the movement we've made to raise the salaries in fire, we have roughly 9 positions open in fire of 100 and maybe 50 positions. We have 9 vacancies. But we're sitting on over 300 applications for our vacancies. And so we are one of the top fire districts sitting in the state. We're the largest, but we're attractive based upon our working conditions and our salary. So that's really helped pay off. But then also, we have done very well with the economy about investing. I said we have the savings account, the stabilization, and the reserve funds of around $80 million. We've done a really good job investing that, getting good interest money on that. So just making the money work for us. So we've gotten millions of dollars off of interest earnings. And so we're certainly impacted as the interest rates change. That will fluctuate for us as well. And then we say potential legislative action. If you follow the state legislature this year, a whole lot of conversation about property tax relief. And everyone says, great. Property tax relief sounds good. We have increased assessed values. Our home values are going up. I'd like some property tax relief. But remember, most of the conversation at the state was things that the state was going to make the cities and counties do. They weren't just playing in the state sandbox. They could talk about sales tax, income tax. They could talk about things at the state level, but they're focused a lot on property tax. And so there were some proposals going around that didn't happen this legislative session, but there was one legislative proposal that could have been a $21 million negative hit to the city. And so what goes on in Topeka matters, certainly for us here in Wichita. So again, I know there's interest in, again, some property tax relief for the next legislative session in January. We'll keep an eye on it, but just so you know, we're keeping communication with our state legislators open, and then certainly economic conditions, where the economy goes impacts us all. So we wanted to move on to, Teresa, I don't know if you can advance that or there. Oh, let's back up one here. So our 2026, our starting point is we say the adopted budget. Again, this is a general fund. So revenues and expenditures, they're balanced. If you look at 27 projected, it's balanced. Council will always get a balanced budget. We will never be in a deficit situation. But if you heard during the sales tax debate, there were a few pieces of literature put out there that said the city's broke. Well, if you look at this far right number at the bottom, says projected, someone would say, oh, well, yeah, you say you're going to be in the red, you're going to be broke in 2029. Well, when you think of a organization or someone who's broke, they can't pay their bills, they can't pay their contracts, they can't pay their salaries, they can't pay their employees, they don't have any savings. Well, I just showed you. We have over $85 million in savings. We've not missed a paycheck. We've paid every vendor. We pay our bills. Yes, in the out years, as we think about what revenues are coming in, knowing what our union contracts are for wages and benefits, and knowing that just the cost of inflation, if you put an inflation factor of 5 or 7%, how many of you have had your home insurance go down? We have the same issue in the city. Our insurance costs, think about even roads. Great news is we're spending $16 million a year on roads instead of the $10 million we used to spend, but it costs more in materials and asphalt and different things as well. But we're making a larger dent. But all that to say is we're not broke, but clearly we will have financial challenges and we'll have to balance that budget. And that's where we'll have to make our priorities between wants and needs. And we'll work with the mayor and council as we go forward on all the budget. But when I make the budget recommendation in July, it will be a balanced budget. So. Then the forecast 27, that's where we're talking about how the revenues. So we do see an uptick in revenues. That's great news. Again, home values are going up. So we are seeing, and we've had new housing. If you've been around, we have new housing. We have new businesses. Boeing just announced another $1 billion investment today over the next 3 years. So we have a lot of things that are really a good trajectory around here for Wichita. Our expenditures are also going up, as we said, inflation, salary, wages. So this is kind of where we are for initial forecast that I'm working with our budget team right now. And so we may transfer out some of our reserves to help cover some things that we want to do for one-time expenses. So we'll talk with council about that. And so now I want to keep an eye on time and give you all some opportunity here. We'll talk a little bit about the background on sales tax, and we had the conversation in March. So this is where we want to get some of your feedback, but we wanted to make sure that we level set within just the budget that we're working with, that our revenue stream isn't that wide. It's primarily the property tax, but what we showed you from a little bit of the sales tax from the county. So council said, hey, we've got some needs coming up that we see down the line. Let's go to the public and get their feedback about how they might want to utilize some sales tax, some new revenue to the city. And so voters were presented on March 3rd with a 1% sales tax over 7 years that would have then sunset or gone away, but it would have generated $850 million, and it was identified for 5 different projects. One was public safety capital improvements, where we talked about, we'll get to the slides for the details, but $225 million for public safety, $25 million for Century 2, and then a new expanded convention center for $225. Property tax relief to give you some of that reduction for $150 million. Homeless and housing services, create an endowment to help fund up to $150 million, and then a new performing arts center for $75 million. But the voters did reject that, with over 80% saying no. So let's give you a little bit, a little background on where we're at now. So what we had said was, if the sales tax would have generated $225 million, It would have gone to our capital improvement program, CIP, which would have funded new fire stations, police stations, fire trucks, equipment, a new training facility, do some of our communication and radio. So we've already identified those needs. And the police and fire have done a great job. All of our department directors do a great job of projecting out where our future needs are based on growth, different things for service levels. And so we've kind of got this mapped out for 10 years. But the question was, can we accelerate it over 7 years with a sales tax funding and pay as we go instead of borrowing money, paying for it? And that could have roughly saved $25 million in interest cost alone, just like a mortgage, that we wouldn't be paying a mortgage on these public safety needs. So instead of the 7 years, what's happening now with saying no is that instead of 7 years of the accelerated investment, we're still on our 10-year track to funding these items, but we're just going to fund them 1 year, a couple projects at a time, but we will borrow money to do that and then add that to our debt service over the next 10 to 15, 20 years to pay those off. And so if you see now, if out west, we're building the West Police Bureau. So we have one of those projects underway. We've ordered fire trucks. So we're starting down this path. It's just going to take us a little bit longer. Then the other thing was, one of the proposals was property tax relief, that council agreed to lower the current mill by 3.7 to 4 mills annually to maintain that. And that would have reduced the mill levy. So it's just an opportunity to transfer property tax for sales tax for property tax. So right now, we will continue with this year's budget to evaluate the millage. That will be an ongoing annual conversation instead of having the automatic reduction to use sales tax to give you relief on property tax. We did talk about Century 2, 25 million, and then the convention center. So we talked about not exceeding 250 million to go into revitalizing Century 2, but also expanding the convention center. So right now we still have plans. It's again, we do our long-term planning. $21 million will still go into Century 2 over the next 10 years. So not as quick as we thought. And then we'll continue to look at the hospitality and tourism, because there is a hospitality and tourism called the transient guest tax that's charged for our hotels, motels and things, but look to that leadership to see how we might utilize those funds and can it be leveraged with private sector stuff going forward or not. So it's just kind of more on hold, but we'll look to the hospitality and tourism leadership on that. Then housing, homeless services. So it's a big one. We thought amount not to exceed 150 million would have been allocated to a restricted special fund. And then we would use that for some of our housing services program, but really to see if we could build up $100 million endowment basically, and then use all the interest off of that core body of 100 million to pay for the annual multi-agency center or Second Light, where we have a lot of our homeless services. So instead of taking property taxes and trying to figure out every year how to fund that through property tax, this would have had a steady stream based upon initial sales tax. So there's still a need to identify annual funding for the homeless programs and services. We've been using a lot of federal funds to this point forward, but all the federal funds are discontinued this year. And so we can do anywhere between $250 to $2 million has been some of the requests for Second Light to do their operating of the facility. And so depending upon the level of support, City Council and I will have a conversation about how much money do we do one-time support out of, again, our reserves that we have, to see how we might fund homeless services going forward, and can they generate some private support to complement the public support. So that's still going to be a big discussion with mayor and council as we go forward to put together this year's budget. And then the last item on there was the Downtown Performing Arts Center, 75 million. So that would have been what was contributed from the sales tax to be coupled with 75 million in private funds. So a good 50-50 split. So now there are no plans to address a new Performing Arts Center. We'll let the private sector and the arts community help spearhead anything, but there's no active conversation among the mayor or city council about doing anything with that unless we hear otherwise during these feedback sessions at the town hall. So that's kind of the lay of the land of those were the 5 items that were on the referendum. And so now we want to take the opportunity to debrief a little bit. And as Councilmember Tuttle said, we're going to give you some time. We have 4 questions. I want to make sure you can write down on a Post-it note, how would you like, so we talked about the ways to fund the city budget, property tax, sales tax, charges for fees, money from state, money from federal, but how would you like to see the city balance the budget? Do you want to balance it more with property tax, less property tax, more fees for service, charge to have things pay 100% of what they cost? Because right now we subsidize a lot of the services, certainly. Do you want to consider some other revenue stream? Do you want us to go lobby the state and federal more than we have? So that's one question for you all to think about, which is on the screen. Then how would you like to see the, how would you fund? What are your funding priorities? So if you like some of those things, you want to do more for homeless services or whatever, write down what some of your priorities are. Is it public safety? Is it parks and recreation? Is it libraries? What are some of your funding priorities? So what should the council prioritize? And certainly want to hear that feedback. And then what feedback would you give the city council on the sales tax? Say, let it die for 5 years and don't talk to me about it again, or bring it back next week, or whatever you all think about the sales tax. Give some feedback specific to that. And then again, are there any proposals from the sales tax referendum you think the city should still focus on? Say, hey, yes, we'd be interested in how can you carve out some property tax for homeless, or hey, we think the city would benefit from a performing arts center or convention. Give us that feedback as well. And so if you wouldn't mind taking the opportunity on some of the Post-it notes and put a Post-it note, we have the 4 questions around, and again, we will compile those. We have a great staff member, Teresa Veazey, who's going to help us compile that and do that with the other town halls. So feel free to get up, move around, and then we'll share the mic. I want to turn it back over to Councilmember Tuttle from here.
Thank you. Before we do the Post-it note activity, does anyone have any questions for city manager? Yes. Make it hard. No, I'm just kidding.
Go ahead.
I really just wanted to commend you more than ask you this, but I'm curious if you've gotten any feedback on your not attendance to the recent Nehemiah.
Absolutely, I have.
I've heard people kind of muckrake and say, oh, he didn't show up, he doesn't care. And I'm like, no, he's doing his job by not being there. That's how I'm seeing it, where we want to keep that separation of church and state nice and robust. We don't need.
That wasn't the issue at all.
Okay.
I'll be glad to talk offline. There's a question about this group who's doing great work in the community. Clearly, I'll be charitable and say they had a different assignment for me that I told them I could not do and answer. And so what they chose to do at your assembly was on them. But I'll be glad to talk offline with folks. But no, the issue is a lot of great people and groups around the community want to work on homelessness, but also there's a new focus about violence. How can we address gun violence in the community? And they just had a prescribed way to do that. And we're trying to get me and the city and council to commit to do it their way, in a specific way, for a specific cost with a specific contractor, that there's no way with our city procurement policies and working with the mayor and council that I could commit to that. And so that's a fine conversation, and we've got great things going on with our police department, and I offered to speak during that event, but I told them if they asked me the question, I'd answer no. And so they didn't want me to address anything else. So,
Gotcha. I get you.
So yeah, but I'll talk more offline. Yeah.
Can you put I know you got the questions, but the thing that showed where the funding is coming into the city, because
Yeah.
you said about, do we raise property tax, but how much was property tax?
Yeah, we can pull that up.
Or what was the income?
The pie chart, I think is the second
Yeah,
one for
the
revenue.
city.
Yeah.
And we can send this out, but this is also on the website. If you go to the city website and you want to, dive in more to the city's budget and the pie charts, if you go under departments, finance, and then there's the adopted budget. And this is the two pie charts are pretty close to.
That
the
way,
one.
that's the all funds, that's $780 million. So that does include your water sewer rates.
That's,
Um,
is that the charges one? Is that water and sewer rate?
That's where all the revenue comes from. So that's where all the revenue, so property tax, charges for services, the rates, sales tax, other sources, but franchise fees, so any utilities working the right of way, Cox Cable,
So
others.
you're asking us, what can we increase on that?
We're asking you, of all these revenue sources we're using now, do you want us to focus on one more than another? Or do you want us to try to find something new that we're not saying we don't have all the answers? If you have some ideas that, if you say more grants, go work with the nonprofit sector.
Actually, that's my.
So yeah, so absolutely, we'll welcome, if you think we should find other revenue from somewhere else, this is just what we're using. And happy to hear your thoughts and feedback.
Thank you so much, Dennis. Appreciate it. So we're gonna until about 1:45, so maybe 7 more minutes. Fill out your Post-it notes, or it looks like when you look like you're wrapping up, but we'll definitely cut it off by then. And then we'll have about 10 minutes in case anybody wants to ask more questions, make any comments. So if you have any problems getting up, or you want me to come and get your posties and put them for you, just let me know.
You want some posties? Thanks, so she was here.
I know that.
So like, is the lunch
Sure, yeah, I'd like to get mom.
Have you checked the mail? I'm like, no. It's your turn. I've been looking at everything that I use. So I was explaining that. The senior living community across the street and. Storage units. Yeah. And for a little bit, of course, their instincts was to buy it.
Thank you.
Trust me, can't trust.
I trust everybody, I can.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So.
Anyway, I just cast on my I've been watching over her.
Oh.
You have been.
She's like,
So,
she does something
you
to a
know-
lot of people who walk over there.
So.
They were pushing pretty hard for the vote yes to the sales tax. I'm pretty against what they're lining up with.
It was, but he came. City Hall.
That's gonna create more homeless now.
Okay, so you wanna hear what happened?
Increasing sales taxes on food and basic needs will create more poverty. It'll increase more homeless. I'm against, I was against the vote, and I was against all of the voices that were for it. Council meetings that were. They were there specifically to push for it, and they were all sitting together, and that was 65–75% of what they were saying they're for it. I think crossing that line between your religious beliefs and your religious associations in politics.
Turns out.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people make wrong decisions, and it's going to hurt everybody. We have to separate.
Well, but.
I love. You're
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of congregations coming together to push political change. Political change. If you're bringing political representatives into meetings and having them pray with you, it's a political movement that's instituting political change. This makes all of the hair on the back of your neck stand up. And I respect people who have religious or spiritual values. You can have those all day. You can be your pastor's son of church, but that power needs to stay within that church. As soon as you're taking the church's power and using it to political realms, you're doing something wrong. And you have to be very mindful, not you specifically, just you know, American citizen. As you are using having all the classes there, having Joseph Shepard there, it just gives them power that is not earned. It gives you power that is not earned. That's how I access it. I'm very flat-footed on that one. Like, nope, you don't oppose that sort of thing.
You okay?
Oh, I just stepped on a landmine with kind of
Mister, how are you, man? Good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Okay, we're gonna wrap up Post-it note time in about 2 minutes.
I wouldn't even call that religion. It's not you
No, we're not.
Shake up.
build community with other people who work to have the same things.
I'm all in favor about it.
Stage and structure
Yeah, exactly.
should not speak political.
Well, I think, let me take that back. They are still under the city of Wichita, but I think they have conditions that are.
Most of a master's degree in Christian divinity and education. So like,
Because we have our own police fire retirement board that we want.
is that? And I would resist it. And as far as Martin Luther King goes.
That's much fun to use.
That's a fair point.
I've been having a lot of that, yeah.
So Mark sent me a text about Mark using those. I'm excited, put it on my calendar.
It's an interesting
It's a little.
There is a lot.
It's in July.
There is a lot.
You take it off, Scott?
Yep.
Say hello to your lovely wife. Thank you. You know, if you ever need me.
On one extreme side of that line of this, separated this.
We're gonna get.
I know.
We're gonna do it.
Okay.
We got it.
All right.
I had people talking shit on them. Oh, no, I'm happy.
All right.
Well, she can. We don't need our city talking. Thank you for doing this job.
Well, the price of all this oil, that's gonna hurt asphalt streets.
Absolutely. Yeah, so all of our contract bids are big projects. It's an increase. Oh, yeah. Like I said, so yeah, the fact we're doing 16, we're like, yay, we're doing $16 million. Well, that's good.
All right, because we do have a time boundary with the district advisory board starting at 6, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up in terms of the Post-it note activity, but just wanted to see if anybody has any thoughts. And please be quick because we've only probably got 10 minutes or less because we have to make sure that we're ready for the district advisory board. But does anyone want to make any comments to us, have any questions, anything that you hoped you would have heard tonight, but you didn't have an opportunity to say? Anybody want the mic? Okay. Well, we have people on the line, so if you wouldn't mind.
I guess one or two comments or questions. Does Wichita have a tourism tax? And the other is, you're talking about a property tax. I'm assuming that's for everyone, or is that targeted?
I don't, yes, we do have a tourism tax. And then we're not proposing any sort of property tax increase. That's not anything.
Sales tax. Property tax.
So ask the question again.
For the property tax relief from the sales tax, who would that be for everybody?
Yes, it would have been for everybody, for private, retail, commercial. Yep. Great question. Hey, Mark.
So we had $75 million slated for this sales tax to go to a new performing arts center downtown. But after the fact, we're being told that there were no plans, nothing set in stone, not even an area set aside for it. So I'm just wondering what that $75 million was going to do. But at the same time, I realized that probably a lot of that $75 million was going to disappear into other budgets, which is fundamentally, I think, why we got such a pushback on the sales tax, because all of them didn't have a floor. It was all up to. If you go to page 10, we can see all those numbers, and those numbers are actually up to this amount for this thing, up to this amount for that thing. Got a lot of pushback on that. We need to have floors. We have to have guarantees that that money is going to go what it's being said it's going to go to.
I'm happy to say something, and then the look on your face, I know you obviously want to make a comment too, but any money that was dedicated for the sales tax would have gone into the coffers for that project. So to say that you assume that it was going to go to something else other than building a performing arts center, I would disagree with you completely on that. And we had certain guardrails that we had established to ensure that the money was spent in the way that it was indicated on the ballot. City manager, what do you want to add to that to make it better?
Spot on, but I was going to say, a lot of this thing is even to give people some more input. There wasn't a defined plan of location and size and exact cost for a performing arts center, because we could have got more private money. And so if someone would say, hey, we want to spend 150 in private dollars and owe city instead of the 75, how about just 70? That's why it is the up to amount. Because we didn't, you're right, we didn't have a finalized plan, because we wanted to let the arts community and others weigh in on what were the amenities, and we didn't know what the land cost was going to be. So it gave it more time. What the community says is we want input, and that is a particular example where that really would have had some opportunity for some more development for community input.
Great, thank you. Yes, what's your question?
I mean, it's a question kind of comment is, I think there's a lack of trust because of like what happened with the Stevens deal with the whole ice rink. The city lost millions of dollars. And I honestly, it seems like a bad deal from the city manager, the contract he did and not following through. So, and then there was also the other projects that were supposed to happen and never happened. And the downtown revitalization project around the baseball stadium. I know originally there's supposed to be a whole bridge. There's supposed to be all this stuff. I mean, I left the city for 10 years, but not a lot happened. A baseball field was built, but there's supposed to be all this other stuff. And I know now they're talking about it, but that was 10 years ago. It seems like there's stuff that they say. And then that one where was the one where they sold the land for $1? Yeah. And then it didn't get developed and they just talked to the owner guy. That was something in the city a couple of months ago.
Yeah, so great comments, thank you. And I know Teresa's taking feverish notes over there. I can hear her typing, so appreciate your feedback. Regarding the development around the baseball stadium, we are on track right now with everything that has been committed that we would do. When, things with the Riverfront Legacy Master Plan was going on, and that's where there was a bridge. That was a dream that community members had. That wasn't anything that was a formal commitment or we're going to do this. This is just, what could our downtown look like if we were dreamers, right? And we built the baseball stadium, and I think we even saw this weekend how wildly popular it was. We're having development around that area. So far, all the commitments that we've made are coming to fruition regarding that. And I'm the only council member that was here in 2019 and voted for the baseball stadium. And 2020 with COVID, everything changed, right? We hurried to build a baseball baseball stadium in a year that sat empty for a year. And so now everybody's still working on the projects that have been committed. So EPC, for example, a couple of weeks ago, they came and gave us a presentation. They have their financial stack. They're moving forward on time. So far, every deadline and commitment has been fulfilled. But, you know, if you're talking about the bridge and there was going to be a Ferris wheel and there was that was just a group that of community members who said, if we thought big and dreamed about how do we revitalize our city's core, these are some of the things that we could do, but none of it was actually a commitment on the city of Wichita.
And none of it happened. And none of you guys,
Yeah.
and with the new manager and with you, I mean, I'm just saying in the past, there hasn't been a lot, there's been issues in the
Sure.
past with trust.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily with the new group, but